Welcome to this week's episode of Cardboard Gold, where we take a look at the 1927 York Caramel E210 baseball card set. We're looking at the Type 1 set, and this card set holds a very special place in my heart. It's the first set that I completed in my return to the hobby back in the early 20-teens. And we'll take a look at those cards here today. The set itself was released in two series, one in 1927's the Type 1 cards, and then in 1928 the Type 2 cards. The sets have 60 cards, 60 players, but there's a lot of different variations within those. Some have player swaps or jersey changes and things like that. A lot of misspellings and a lot of errors in this set. Very similar in design to some of the food issues from the 1920s, the Tharps and the Sweetmans. And very similar to the Yingling and Harrington issues, although they slightly vary. The Type 1 sets, they have the back image printed facing left. Type 2 is a little glossier finish, or a little more rare, and those face to the right. And there's a total of 21 Hall of Famers in this set, which is what first attracted me to it. I was collecting T206s and 33 Goudeys at the time, and was looking for a 1920s vintage set to add to my set builds. And that was this was the one that won. Pennsylvania is caramel capital of the world at this point in time. You know, Hershey started in the Lancaster Caramel Company in Lancaster, PA. There was Oxford Confectionery in Oxford, PA, the Philadelphia Caramel Company, although they were in Camden, New Jersey. But the biggest one was American Caramel Company, which was located in York. A combination of both the Bryce Hine and the PC Weiss companies. And then they actually bought Lancaster Caramel Company from Milton Hershey back around 1900. So at the time, 90% of the nation's caramel was coming from American Caramel right out of York, PA. And then in 1914, the York Caramel Company was created as a competitor in York. And that's building still there at 231 West College Avenue in York, right by the William Penn High School. And again, that company is still in existence today. They celebrated their 100th anniversary about a decade ago. 1948, they were bought by Standard Brands, Nabisco, and then later became Classic Caramel Company and were bought by the Worrell Corporation. And right now they do a lot of contracted caramel production. So Pennsylvania has always been a candy and caramel mainstay, and the York Caramel Company fit into that. And to compete with those competitors, you probably recognize a lot of those different caramel company names. To compete with them, they needed baseball cards, and that's what kind of brought on the addition of the Type 1 and Type 2 sets here in the York Caramel Collection. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the cards that I have. So this is going to be a really card heavy video here. Hope you enjoy that, and we'll just go through the 60 player variations that exist within the set, and hope you enjoy. All right, and here we go. We're going to start with card number 1. This is Burley Grimes, Hall of Famer. This is an SGC 3 holder, and you can see here the front of the card. So again, very plain, not a lot of craziness going on here. You can see here on the back, Sterling National League pitcher. There's a little saying about each player as it goes, and it just calls out that it's one of a series of 60 cards of the most prominent stars in baseball. It has the York Caramel logo there, along with the city and state stuff. So again, that's the standard design of the card. Again, we're looking at Burley Grimes here, Hall of Famer. And this is card number 1 of the series. Card number 2 belongs to Walter Reuther. You can see there's a misspelling on the name. And so you'll notice that happens a lot here. It's a PSA 3. And again, Walter Reuther, a southpaw with a great curve. Love these sayings on the back of the cards. I think that they really add a little bit of historical fun to the issues. Card number 3, Joe Duggan or Dugan, and this is in a 2.5. And um, Joe, best third baseman in the American League. Well, I bet you there are a few other American leaguers that would disagree with that. But again, it's how they sold and pitched the cards. You can see there's still a lot of caramel staining. Not quite sure how these were packaged within the caramel container, if they were directly up against the caramel, if there was some, if they were wrapped in paper or not. But you'll notice with the series, caramel stains are very common. This is card number 4, Red Faber, the SGC5, and that's the front. And then on the back, a great curveball pitcher, Red Faber. So this one a little cleaner. Again, one of the nicer examples that we have here, but this is the Red Faber card. And then card number 5 is Gabby Hartnett. Now, Gabby Hartnett, the type 1 here, this is in PSA 4. And we can see here, nice quality image here. This one looks like back before they still let you doctor cars. So this may have been bleached a little bit. You see how white that is. And then a great backstop of the Chicago Cubs. So again, York Caramel Company, Gabby Hartnett here from the Cubs. And then card number 6. This is probably the most valuable card in the set. This is the Babe Ruth, and you see you get a pitching or a throwing image here, or a fielding image, type 1, and this is a 1.5. This one has a little bit of creasing and such, which brings down the grade, but still doesn't take away from the quality of the image. Still a great shot of Babe. And at least I got this several years ago. Greatest slugger of all time with Babe Ruth in the 1.5. And again, these cards now are starting to get a little pricey, so I'm glad I got that one when I did. And then we have the card number 7, Bob Musial, and that's the front here. You see a nice fielding image here, Bob. And then we flip it over, and it says the best throwing outfielder. So again, Bob Musial here. And we come up to card number 8, and this is one of the first variations we have here. This is Herb Pennock, and if you look here, there's no name on the jersey, just a plain front. And this is in an SGC4. And it says the best southpaw in the American League for Herb. And then here we have a variation of Herb with the team name on the jersey. So you can see where the Red Sox logo is there, and it says team name on jersey. And this is in a PSA 5. So you can see the difference between the two cards here. Also, you notice a little difference in the font here on the bottom. There are some variations here within this set based on kind of when they were printed and how they printed these. But again, both read best southpaw in the American League. So that's Herb Pennock, card number 8. Now here's card number 9, George Burns. And not to be confused with Monty Burns, but George Burns in a PSA 4. And most valuable player in American League. So you can tell they're running out of superlatives already, and they're only on card number 9. So let's see how they do as it goes along. Here we have card number 10 in a PSA 3. We have Joe Sewell, and he's the best shortstop in the American League. So again, some great cards here of Joe Sewell, and that's in a card number 10. So then we have card 11, George Yule. And here you can see this is in a 3.5. This Cleveland uniform. Led all Major League pitchers, won 27 games. So George had a great season leading up to that printing of that card. And again, card number 11. And then we have card number 12, and this one has some variations as well. Here's Bob Farrell. And here you can see there's no name on the jersey. And then here we have Bob O'Farrell. And this one has a name on the jersey. And so again, you can see clearly it says Cubs there on the second card there, the SGC. This is in a 2. Now Bob, the most valuable player in the National League. So again, we already had our American League superlatives, so now let's start with some National League ones. I have a third Bob O'Farrell card here as part of our collection, and this one's actually a signed card, autographed by Bob. It's the no jersey name version, but you can see we got a nice PSA DNA certified auto here, which is great, and he signed not only the front, but also the back. So again, we have an autograph here on the front and back of the card. Most valuable player in the National League. So that's a real special one to us in our collection. And then card number 13, here's Rogers Hornsby. And this is in a PSA 3. And Roger here is, again, greatest of all present day players. So not to be confused with greatest slugger or anything else along the way. But we have the Hornsby here, card number 13, and PSA 3. Now, the nice part about collecting these cards was that when I started this collection, here's 14 Pie Trainer. And when I started this collection, a lot of these Hall of Famers, these were the first cards I ever had of these Hall of Famers. And here we see Captain of the Pittsburgh Pirates here on the back. And this was pretty well centered back. I like this one. This was pretty clean. Little issue there with the image print quality on the front around his nose, but otherwise still a really nice quality example. But like I was saying, it's the first of these Hall of Famers that were part of my collection, so I kind of always gravitate towards these cards as well for that reason too. Here's number 15, a quarter of the way done. Clarence Mitchell in a PSA 6. This is the front image, and then let's look at the back. 15 years a star, only southpaw spitter. So obviously had a spitball there, and played in the was a lefty. So again, Clarence Mitchell in a PSA 6. Here we have another Hall of Famer coming up, Parixi. And here you can see there's spelling issues that they're calling out here on the card. And it's a 2.5, and then 6 feet 5 and 1/2 inches. There were giants in those days. So it's funny that they would say that, seeing that it was printed in 1927. I wouldn't say in these days because it's a modern image of a modern player at the time. But the message fits us now in 2026 probably better. So, and then we have Carl Mays, card number 17 in a PSA 4. And then Carl, best underhand pitcher. And then we have Adolfo Luque. And this is the PSA 4 here for Adolfo. And greatest of the Cuban pitchers. So again, one of the earlier Cuban pitchers in the major leagues, or Cuban players. And it shows how they were obviously allowed in well before the segregation broke down. So kind of a neat card in that way. Here we have Dave Bancroft, card number 19, and an SGC 3. Love this image, him reaching up for that fly ball. That's a great card there. Great manager, better shortstop. And that brings a point. Not only are we going to have players in this set, but there's also some some fun players, some managers as well. Now here's George Kelly. This one's also autographed in a PSA 2. Here's one not autographed and a PSA 4. So this is card number 20 for George Kelly. You read the back, can do everything well. So again, he's a good all-around player. But George, obviously another Hall of Famer. This is again autographed card, so great to have this as part of the collection. Was able to get a couple of these autos a while back. I don't really see them pop up very much anymore. So really happy to have the few on-card autos that I do have, and that I grabbed well before on-card auto became a real big thing. Here's Ira Flagstead, card number 21 and a PSA 6. Another great image. I love these jumping, catching images here. Ira, big frog in a small pond. So again, Ira and a PSA 6. Here's another Hall of Famer here, Harry Heilman. The Tigers. Now is an SGC2. See a little bit of creasing across the front, but not too bad. And some caramel stains up in the top right. Obviously the corner wear is pretty rough on these cards. And a champion batter for Harry Heilman. So again, have that one here. And then we have card number 23. Ray Schalk, the catcher. I love seeing the old catcher's gear in this image. You know, I think this is kind of takes you back to what it was like to watch these players back then. And you know, greatest catcher of all time, Raymond Cracker Schalk. And then card number 24 is Johnny Mosto, PSA 5. Best Ball Hawk since speaker. And the speaker's part of the set, so that's an interesting card to have here. Here's the Hack Wilson card. This one also runs a little bit. If I remember correctly, this isn't his image actually, but his name's on the card, so people collect it like it is. It's an SGC4 on the Hack Wilson, leading National League home run hitter. So we have the Hack Wilson here in the SGC4. And then we have Tom Zachary here, and a PSA 4. Washington, and hey, he hasn't a thing, but wins just the same. So I guess wasn't really looked well upon, but didn't have any exceptional stuff, but he still found ways to win. I guess that's a way to compliment him, I guess. So yes, that's Tom Zachary, card 26, and 27 is the second probably most valuable card in the set, and this is the Ty Cobb. And you see Ty Cobb, number 27, and this is an SGC4. And here we see greatest player that ever lived, holds more records than any other 3 players. And again, got this one off Net 54 a long time ago. And again, love the image on that card. I think this one's really nice. So again, E210 Ty Cobb here, card number 27. Card number 28, we have Tris Speaker and a PSA 4. Again, great batting image of Tris. And here we see greatest of all outfielders. Now, I feel like I've heard that one in one of the earlier cards. But, you know, again, Tris Speaker here. Great card of Tris Speaker. Little crease along here. I don't know if these cards would get the grades they're showing now. If they were to resubmit them, you know, PSA's standards have definitely gone up a little bit. And then Ralph Perkins here in a PSA 5. Here you can see the Philly A's logo there on the front of the jersey. And catcher and hard hitter, Connie Mack's Athletics. Here's what it says on the back. So again, that's card number 29, which brings us to card number 30 and our halfway point, Jess Haynes. And here you see in the St. Louis uniform, PSA 3, card number 30, Jess Haynes. World Series pitcher, St. Louis Nationals. So again, that's the first half of the set. Let's take a pause here and we'll be right back. Now, I told you this would be card heavy, and with 60 cards, you know, it's tough to try to get everything in, but I wanted to get them all out here for you guys today. So here's card number 31, Sherwood Smith. But the photo is of Jack Coombs. So it's not really Sherwood Smith. This is a PSA 4. And Sherwood, veteran southpaw pitcher of Cleveland. So that's Sherwood Smith. And then card number 32 is Max Carey. And this is in a PSA 5. And hard-hitting outfielder of the National League. So we have Max Carey here, card number 32. And then we have card 33, Eugene Hargraves. This is in a 4, but you can see, obviously, again, some spelling issues here. It looks like they added that S at the very end. So Eugene Bubble Hargrave, leading National League batsman. So we had Cracker Shock, and we got Bubble Hargrave. And now we have card number 34, Miguel Gonzalez. This is in an SGC 5. Leading catcher of the National League. And here we have some more variations. Here's Clinton Heathcote with no team name on the front. Here's a Clifton Heathcote with no team name on the front, but with the right spelling of his name. You can see the first card's missing the E, and the second card has the E. But that's not enough. We need to have one with a team name. So here it is with the team name, and again, this is in a 3. And then we have these little writing marks, gives us our MK distinguisher there. But Clifton Heathcote, that's the variations for him. And then we have Sam Rice in a PSA 4. He is in his Washington uniform and most 2-base hits, American League 1926. So Sam Rice here. Nice image there of Sam. 37, we have Earl Shealy in the Sox uniform. PSA 6, again, like some of these images, some of these cards have some really good images of the players. Leading first baseman of the American League, Earl Shealy. Then we have Emery Rigney, the Tigers uniform with team name on the jersey. This is a 4. And then you can see here, someone put their initials there on the card a long time ago. Emery Rigney here, leading shortstop of the American League. And we have card number 39, Bib Falk. And this is in a PSA 6. This image is a little dark, a little tougher to see. Leading outfielder, American League. So now I think they're just straight on plagiarizing themselves. You know, these leading outfielders, best outfielder. I would call this plagiarism if I was grading a college paper. Now here we have Nick Altrock here in the card number 40 in an SGC2. This is type 1 SGC2. And American League's famous clown. All right, and that brings us to card number 41, another Hall of Famer, Stanley Harris, the type 1, PSA 3, and manager of the Washington Americans. And then back that up with another manager. Here we go with John McGraw, PSA 5. Love McGraw and all the stories about him. I'm an Orioles fan, so from his playing days as an Oriole, then in the Baltimore Chop, all the way to all those years managing the New York Giants. Nothing but respect for John McGraw and a PSA 5 here, manager of New York Giants. So So again, a real tough baseball guy, really helped to invent the modern game. And then here his crosstown rival, Wilbert Robinson, the PSA 4 here with the Brooklyn, and manager of the Brooklyn Nationals here. So here's Wilbert Robinson in the PSA 4. Then card 44, this is one of my favorite cards, Grover Cleveland Alexander, number 5. Every time there's a presidential election, I can't stop but think of him. And that's card 44, star pitcher of the World Series in 1926. And follow that up with the big train here, Walter Johnson, the PSA 3. And the Walter Johnson, a pitcher of speedball fame. So known then even for his powerful fastball. And again, this is the in a 3 here, the Walter Johnson card. And we have 46. This is Bill Terry in an SGC 4. Leading fielder of National League, Bill Terry. And then we have 47. This is Edward Collins, 47. It's in a 2.5. Star second baseman of the American League. So again, great card of Eddie Collins here, late in his career. And then we have Marty McManus and a PSA 5 here. And Marty, second baseman of the St. Louis Browns here, St. Louis Americans. Getting great card there in a PSA 5. And then number 49, we have Goose Goslin. This is an SGC 4. And you can see the image, the print quality, the cut quality is not the greatest on this one. Slugger of the Washington Americans. So Goose Goslin here. And then card number 50, we have Frank Frisch. This is in a PSA 5. The Fordham Flash, a great third baseman. So that brings us to 50, which means we have 10 cards left in the set. Card number 51, Jimmy Dykes in an SGC 4.5. Second baseman of the Philadelphia Athletics. Card number 52, Fred or Cy Williams in a PSA 3. An outfielder who can hit. I would hope so. And then we have 53, Eddie Roush. This one's got some print ink there on the side. So 2.5. Star outfielder of the National League. And then we have George Sisler on a PSA 4. Star first baseman of the St. Louis Browns. And love these fielding shots in this set. 55, Ed Rommel in a PSA 5. Sterling pitcher of knuckleball fame. And here's a fun one. It's a Roger Peckinpah, autographed in a PSA 4. So it's one of the original captains there of the Yankees. And here it is, non-autographed here in the 3. So I got the Roger Peckinpah. You can see, obviously they spelled his name Rogers. And great shortstop for double plays. So it's the Peck and Paw, and that's the last of my autographed cards. And then number 57, Stanley Kovaleski. This is a 2.5. A great spitball pitcher, a lot of caramel staining on the back of this one. And then 58, we have Clarence Galloway and a PSA 4. Hard-hitting infielder of the Athletics. '59, we have Bob Shockey and a PSA 3. A great relief pitcher of the New York Yankees. And then our last card of the set is John McInnes and a PSA 3. Manager of the Philadelphia Phillies of the Philadelphia Nationals. And that, my friends, are the 60 players of the York Caramel Type 1 set. So overall, it probably took me about 3 or 4 years to put this set together. It was kind of the primary focus of my hobby collecting during that time frame I was talking about in the 19 in 2013, 2014. Once I decided to venture off into vintage, this was the first set I really went after, and real happy to have a complete set together. Again, on the PSA set registry, I think it's one of the higher ranked sets. I don't think there really are many. There might only be 2. So again, it's rare to see all these cards together in one spot. And real happy to have built this collection, through auctions and Net54 and card shows and things like that. Fortunately, being in the Philadelphia area, cards a little more easier to find in this area compared to other parts of the country. So that's been a real plus. I still have probably about another 20 Type 1 York Caramels in my collection per se. It's kind of like doubles and things like that, but I didn't want to waste your time with doubles of variations and things like that. But that's the main set, and I hope you've enjoyed taking a step back and looking at this collection from 1927 all together in one spot. And thank you again for tuning in. I encourage you, if you've stuck around this long, to like and subscribe to the video. Again, great way to celebrate a great set. Thanks again for tuning in, and everyone have a great rest of the day.